second time I was ever on a plane. I flew out to LA. And then the next time I got on a plane, it was a private jet home. It took 12 weeks for me to go from absolutely unknown to the most known person in the country. It took 12 weeks from me to go from pulling change out of the couch cushions to pay for gas to paying my mom's house off, right? And the show was this juggernaut. 40 million people watched our finale. Kelly Clarkson and I toured together in 2004, and we shared a bus. And they said, you guys are going to share a bus, and we slept on bunks.
I was shocked to hear you say that you hadn't really known you were gay until around the Idol years. And I guess I just wonder how that can be.
I was scared. I was scared. I didn't know what being gay meant. And when I was in high school, I dated girls. I did things with girls.
Because you wanted to or because you were forced to?
Coming out as a homo was nothing compared to coming out as a Democrat.
So what would you say is your biggest which you have faced and defeated? Hey, I'm Kat Greenleaf. Welcome to the Soberness podcast, where celebrity storytellers spill what broke them, what saved them, and what's still with them today. Whether it's substances, circumstances, or people, everyone has been with sometime. Come on, you know it's true. So whether you're sober, getting sober, or even just sober curious, bring on the free. But first, real quick, most of you who watch this podcast regularly, and thank you, are not subscribed, and subscribing is the best way to support this show so that we can continue getting great guests to share their stories with you, with me, with everyone. So please subscribe, like, share. Thank you so much. Hey, Clay.
Hello.
How art thou?
How art thou? So proper. I'm very well. How art thou?
Well, I am also very well. Last time we hung out, it must have been 16 years ago.
It was a while, yes.
So that was probably, a Tuesday. And then what happened?
Oh God. Well, we both had kids. We both had boys, which meant a lot happened, right?
It's like the David Byrne song. This is not my beautiful 16-year-old son. This is not my beautiful house. Like I still have imposter syndrome about being this age with these trappings. Do you?
Oh, I think yeah, because I feel like if I look back at how old I'm older now than my parents were when I was this age. And I thought they were 150,
I know.
So
I know.
I'm like, holy crap, how old? I feel like I'm young-ish. I mean, I got my gray hairs, but I feel like I'm youngish. But I took my son and a bunch of his friends to the beach at the end of the summer for a week. 16, 17-year-old boys in a beach.
It smells awful.
Oh my God, like a rotten sock and yeah.
Cardboard.
Oh my God, I just kept saying deodorant. But anyways, I thought to myself, God, do they think that I'm as old as I thought my parents were? I'm sure they do. So that hurts my heart a little bit.
Oh God, mine too. And it's so funny because I think I'm still really cool. And I think my music is cool. Okay, so this was a sobering thought. I am still all 90s hip hop all the time. That is my music. That's what I listen to. I play it in the car. I think it's the most current thing.
It is not.
It is not. I see them not relating. And then I realize that was, nearly 40 years ago. So when I was growing up in the 80s, that would have been like my parents trying to get me into music from the 40s.
I know, right? It blows my mind. The fact that the oldies station now is 80s and 90s.
I know.
The oldies station. And they're playing Whitney Houston. I'm like, what in the the things, everything old is new again. And we went through that period where the 70s was back in fashion. And then we went through that Stranger Things period where the 80s was back in fashion. And now we're kind of moving into the 90s. And I think, wait a second, before too long, we're going to be back in the 2000s and I'm going to be cool again.
Yes! Patience, grasshopper. You'll get there. You'll get there. Okay, so let's rewind all the way to 2003, a fateful year. I never think that successes are made overnight because talent takes a lifetime to season. But pretty much overnight, you went from a school teacher to triple platinum pop star, thanks to American Idol. I can't imagine a more dissociative experience. It's too big of a question to say, what was that like? But
That's the only question I got from 2003 to 2005.
what's it like?
It's been like? Oh
I
my
mean,
gosh. Yeah.
how does anyone ever answer what's it like?
It's been so damn long ago. I can't remember.
Because I think that performance could win you the competition.
Clay Aikin, what a fight tonight.
What was the obvious fallout? The friends who were your friends couldn't be your friends anymore, or because you were in such different stratospheres, or you could no longer go out and get a bagel because you'd be mobbed. Like, what was the tangible difference?
That was probably that right there was probably the hardest thing to get used to. I mean, I remember Ruben and I, after the show, after the finale, they flew us to New York, and within it, like he did the Today Show, I did the something else, and then one of those nights in the first few days after the show, we decided to go see Rent because a friend of ours from Idol was in Rent, and we went in, we walked in sort of late, sat down in our seats. They started the show, and I've been around Broadway for a while. I've never seen this happen before. They started the show and stopped it about a song and a half in because the people in the audience were constantly turning around taking pictures of us.
Oh, no.
And they had to stop it and move us up into a box so that they could actually continue with the show. That was weird.
Yeah.
But, I think when you go through such a diametrically, a shift that's so huge, what was normal, it's not like a gradual thing. Like that became normal to us pretty quickly, right? Not comfortable with it. It took years for me to get comfortable with it, but there was never a time that we weren't very well known. I feel very lucky that I did it at the time I did it, because I feel like our season, maybe season 3, was sort of the last time America did anything together.
Oh, wow.
In the years after that, things became so fragmented with Netflix and the internet and YouTube and whatnot. But 40 million people watched our finale, and I still, people may not recognize my old ass now as easily, but they know my name because it was such a big thing. It was a cultural moment, and so. I struggled to find anything that I would look back and say was very difficult, other than just no longer having any anonymity whatsoever, not being able to walk out the door. I wasn't a big goer outer anyway. I was always I was sort of a homebody always, so it didn't change that much. But I think it probably took me about. Well, I guess there was a little roller coaster. So at the beginning, you love it, right? When we were on the show, we didn't really get to leave the house very often, but when we did leave, we were lobbying. We're like, yeah, vote for me. So we loved that because it did kind of fed into the people voting for us. And then when you leave, it is still all fresh and new enough that, you're right off the show and my whole life is ahead of me, and I'm going to have this album. And, we're very excited. It was really cool. It was probably it was after that first year of touring and constantly being busy when I wanted to go and just be home. And I could not find a place. I don't even think I consciously needed to, because I was living in LA, but I did in my head believe I need a wall. I need a gate. I even when I built a house back in North Carolina, I look back at what I bought and think, God, I wish I hadn't gotten that. But the one that I wanted, it was up against a lake, and I was just constantly afraid that people would stand on the other side of the lake and take pictures into my backyard, which I realize now is sort of irrational. But I did get a little bit paranoid about the fact that I also wore this bucket hat because I thought that would hide me, or I'd walk around with hoodies on, even in
How'd that go?
75-degree
Yeah.
weather.
Nobody noticed
I
it.
look back now and realize that's just made me more obvious. Like, why is it's hot and he's wearing a hoodie or this ugly bucket hat. But there are some things that become irrational. You're trying to cover yourself up a little bit. So there was a period where it got to be frustrating. And then I kind of got maybe around 30, God, it took a while, maybe around 30, 32, where I just sort of finally, after 8 years, realized, okay, this is what it's going to be.
It took
And,
you 8 years?
It took a while. It did. I mean, I was busy a lot. And then, I mean, also, if you even remember, I had this penchant for very much staying in the tabloids. I came out. So even as I was trying to get more comfortable with that, I came out and that was splashed everywhere. And I was constantly worried that people were judging me or upset with me for whatever reason. So it took after me coming out, having a kid, sort of having a break from constantly being busy and constantly being out, that I got to a place where I could go out to a restaurant, and when someone came over and wanted an autograph, that I felt, because I also for a long time felt really, really obligated that when someone comes over and wants an autograph, I mean, well, not always, but I try to always be polite, right? But back then I felt like I needed to go out of the way. And like some people would pull a chair up to the table and just sit there for a while. And I got to a place where I realized it's not rude to say, happy to do it, but let me do it when I leave. If you're here when I leave, I'm happy to do it. Sometimes I'll say, tell you what, how about you meet me outside and I'll do it outside. But I didn't like doing it in a restaurant where everybody's like, well, who's that old man taking a picture with,
Yeah.
So I guess I learned I got the coping mechanisms in place to learn how to deal with it. And it took a minute to do that.
Did you have like a fame coach? Because the state of being famous and uber famous is so very different from being a regular guy.
Who would know how to be that kind of famous? How to go from, like, if you think about it, there were people plenty more famous than me back anytime, but most of them, I thought about somebody like Christina Aguilera, who was on the same label as me, and she had a trajectory that she eased into being Christina Aguilera. Most of them kind of, they claw their way up. And as you mentioned, like, I left the first time I was ever on a plane. Oh, that's not true. Practically the second time I was ever on a plane, I flew out to LA. And then the next time I got on a plane, it was a private jet home. And I was 24, which is by idle standards, not very young, but it is still, too young to be making life-altering decisions.
Well, this is one of the things I find so interesting about fame, especially when fame is bestowed upon people who never saw it coming, but also the very young. When someone has fame or money, we somehow expect them to be more sophisticated or that they get it because we all have mortgages. But you were a baby at 24 years old. Nobody should have trusted you to do anything.
It took 12 weeks for me to go from absolutely unknown to the most known person in the country. It took 12 weeks. And it took 12 weeks from me to go from pulling change out of the couch cushions to pay for gas to paying my mom's house off, right? So nobody saw it. Nobody knew so no one knew how to process that. And I remember when this is so silly now, when we were on Idol, we did get paid, the union. We had to join what's now SAG, but after back then, we were required to. And so they had to pay us every week. And we each got paid, I think, based on the rates, we all got like $2,000 a week, because we did 2 episodes. Oh my Lord, I ain't never seen that much money in my life. We thought we had hit the big time, and we were going out buying remember those portable DVD players that you could put a DVD in and you watch on the screen? We all bought them, and we were sitting in our dressing room. I mean, and then so to go from that, which I thought $2,000 a week was huge, to what came after that, I didn't know. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And so, yes, people, if you do it a little more slowly, I'm sure it is still just as difficult to come to terms with, but no one knew how to do that. I'm not complaining about it. I do think I was grounded enough, or at least kept grounded enough by my mom and people at home, that I handled it pretty well. But I look back now and think, God, would the 47-year-old me would like to go back and slap the shit out of the 24-year-old me, because I didn't ask that question, or I didn't think to get a second opinion on this, that, or the other.
I mean, give yourself.
But that's what, we do that we do that, whether it's my circumstance or, if I'd still been a teacher, I would have looked back and done the same thing.
1,000%. I think we all have that. I mean, you just gotta, I keep trying to forgive myself for having been young.
Right. How many times did your parents say, God, if I was your age of knowing what I know now, and I'm so sick of hearing it. And now that's all I want to think is, God, if I could go back to high school, whew, mercy.
Yeah. Yeah. We'd be
I've
weapons.
taken over.
Yeah.
Yes.
We'd be amazing. Just one last thing about this quick fame. To me, it would seem isolating. I mean, I've been in broadcast for 30 years, and as I became more known, I felt people's reactions to me change, or people sidling up maybe that wouldn't have before. Anyway, I didn't love it, and I probably had a half of a flea's worth of the recognition that you ever had. Did you get lonely when people started treating you differently?
Well, two things. One, I've been really lucky. I mean, I credit it to my mother and my extended family. I have never been in a situation where people try to treat me any differently, at least at home. No. I know. I mean, if they tried to treat me differently, then they were not close to me in the first place, and I saw it coming. And I went by Clayton before I did Idol. I shortened it to Clay when I did Idol. Or right in college, right before it. And so when people would call me Clayton, if somebody who I knew called me Clayton, I knew that if they tried to call me Clay, I was like, well, then we weren't that close in the first place. I had friends from high school who would say, God, can I call you Clayton? Because I don't know. It's weird to call you. And I've just been really lucky. People in my family, I've never had people in my family ask me for money, ask me to do anything for them. I hear these horror stories, and I've been very lucky in that way. I did become, Kelly Clarkson and I toured together in 2004. And we shared a bus because we didn't know. We just did what they told us to do. And they said, you guys are going to share a bus, and we slept on bunks. And I looked at it now, I'm like, we were selling out arenas, and I was sleeping in a bunk.
It was my idea to start the tour just because I found out we were both touring at the same time. And I was like, well, why don't we just tour together?
So if it's a massive failure?
It's my fault.
Okay then.
But it's been really successful so far, so yay me.
We became really close during that. And I think it was because of what you're talking about. We were the only two, Ruben and Justin Guarini being the others, but we were the only two who knew what it was like to have done what we did. And
Yes.
her show did not get the same number of viewers, but she certainly had the prestige that came from being the first winner. So I didn't get too lonely. I had one of my best friends came out and lived with me in LA, and didn't take shit from me. He didn't let me. My friends have all been very good. The ones I've never had like this huge extended circle. I've always had a small circle of friends, and those folks were happy to tell me, you were acting like a dumbass. And those are the ones who I keep around. I don't trust people who agree with me all the time.
No, like your chat GPT. Does your chat GPT agree with you all the time?
I don't use that because I'm afraid it's going to make my brain die.
I don't know. It has some ups and downs. There are some times when it's very useful, but mine thinks I'm the best. And I'm like, shut up already. Not every idea I have is great.
There was something in the New York Times or in The Economist a few weeks ago about how it's trained to do that.
Yes.
And as a result, it has had people, like, it gets into this loop where it really damages some people.
Correct. I did read that, and it was really chilling. Some of the examples were.
So just so you know, Kat, you're not the best. Next time ChatGPT tries to tell you, you just remember.
Well, shit, Clayton, neither are you. There you go.
Sure as shit am not. That's true.
Okay, so all right, so we're 2003, 4, or 5. The world is a warm room. You are being accepted. Everyone loves you, and then you decide to come out as gay in around what, 2008?
Oh, wait.
Ish.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah, I had sort of been out. I had been leaking out to people for a while. And by the time I came out, I was on Broadway at that time. And I was out to everybody in the show. I just had not been publicly out at that point. I had not made the announcement. I had not put it on the bulletin board, right? Which you had to do back then.
Yeah. Yeah. That's crazy, right? You had to. No one else has to. I don't have to come out and say, I love sleeping with men, but I do.
But you do say it.
Yes, I do, as much as I can.
Well, I mean, I think that I remember that, we all have moments where we can totally put ourselves back in them, in different parts of our life. And one of the ones that I can remember vividly is I went to my manager. I was in New York doing Spamalot. My manager and my publicist took me to dinner at the Palm and sat me down. Cindy was sitting there and Simon was sitting there. And she just looked at me and she said, "You have to come out." And I went, "What?" But at that point, they knew that I was having a child. We had not told anyone else. My son's mom and I had been planning it and talking about it for a year, but we had not told anyone else. And amazingly, it was one of the few secrets we were able to keep. And she just said, "Listen, I know you're pretty much out to everybody. I'll keep it secret. But if you don't come out publicly when you announce that you're having a kid," she said, it's going to be brutal. And that you're going to have to, like, how are you going to go on? You're going to have to teach your kid to lie. And she was I love her for it. She was one of those folks who did not tell you, not kiss your ass and tell you that you were perfect all the time. She told you, nope, you got to do it. And
ChatGPT there.
Right. Definitely not. And I was scared. I mean, I was scared. I remember, and I don't know why, because like I said, I had all the people who like really mattered, I had come out to, like, the people in my life. But I remember, so I came out, I'd done an interview with People magazine. It was embargoed for a month or two. We knew when it was coming out. I was back on Broadway with Spamalot the week that magazine came out on Thursday. They always put a teaser out on Monday or whatever. And I remember that night being petrified that when I came out for the first time on stage, people were going to boo. And I don't know if it was not because I thought people were homophobic, but I thought that, like, I had no idea. Everything's very irrational when you're in that situation. So I remember thinking I'm going to be booed. I remember even after I didn't get booed coming out to the first entrance, but even going out to the bows, I thought I was going to get booed in the bows, and I didn't. And I didn't go out and sign people's playbills that night either, because I thought, well, God, maybe I just didn't hear them, and they're going to. So it was a freaky period, and afterwards, you spend 30 years. I was 30 at that point almost, and you spend 30 years with a wall around you. It doesn't just fall down, right? I was dating somebody at the time who did not understand why I wasn't going to just hold hands walking down the street. And it wasn't because I was ashamed of him or any of it. It's just like, this is something that it was very new to me to be able to have that. So it was a interesting first year.
I read a crazy stat that you feel you lost 50% of your fans.
Well, I can give you the numbers. I was in Spamalot. I told you, how many times have I said that?
Yeah.
And the week before that People magazine announcement, the show had sold 82% of its tickets. The week after, it sold 41%, and it never came back up. And people laugh and say, "Oh, it's Broadway. Nobody cares about being gay." And I don't think that anybody, and I've argued with people, I don't think that I lost fans because I was gay and people were homophobic. I think that it was, so many of the people who were the Claymates were, I had some older female fans, and I had a lot of younger preteen, teenage fans. And I said to someone just not too long ago, it wasn't that those kids were homophobic. It was that all of a sudden the fantasy was over, right? It was, I remember these teenage girls who would come to my shows, with my shirt on my face on their shirt, and make scrapbooks and dream of me bringing me home to their parents. And put my poster on their bedroom wall. And I said to this person, I was like, on that day, a lot of them had to take the poster down. Not because they had a problem with me being gay, but because all of a sudden, I can't, he's not my future husband.
Right. Some mourning actually for them as well. They mourned
Yeah.
fantasy.
Yeah.
Was there some mourning for you there with the 50% drop?
I didn't notice that. I didn't notice that 50% drop until not long ago. I mean, that's probably why it came up at the time, because I even told, because when you're on stage at Spamalot, you can't see how many people are in the audience, and they all sounded loud. So, and I continued to tour. I did another album after, actually, interestingly, now I'm just thinking about it. I never toured on that album I put out in 2008. And I don't know, I can't remember if that's because I had just had a kid. I can't remember why. Maybe it was because we couldn't. Again, it's weird. Some things get blocked out of your memory. Maybe subconsciously I blocked it out. I don't think that I mourned that, because it was, I truly didn't believe that I never thought people were going to stop liking me because I was gay. And so it wasn't until maybe 4 or 5 years ago that I realized that was the day the posters came down, sort of, theory, if you want to call it that. Because I look at a lot of these acts that come back, Backstreet Boys are at the Sphere, and I think, okay, well, those ladies are all, they were in love with them in the late 90s.
Right.
They were teenagers, and they had this completely irrational fantasy that they were going to marry Brian Luttrell or Kevin or whoever. And then now they're going back to the Sphere, having that same irrational fantasy that they are going to marry Brian Luttrell or Kevin or Nick Carter. And they can do that, right? Because those boys hadn't come out. Now the girls who fell in love with Lance and NSYNC,
It's another
they
story.
may not necessarily feel the same way, but they'll fantasize over, Justin and whoever else is in NSYNC if they want to go to.
And there's so many to choose from,
There are. So, but I mean, I don't apologize for it at all, but I do feel in some ways sad that, I do wonder, I do play that back in my head sometimes that, they had like, because I think a lot of girls probably got teased for it, because there were some people who were like, we know he's a queen, and you're falling for it. And they defended me. I didn't ask them to defend me, but they really believe. And I never said that I was straight. I never lied about it in press. I was conscious enough of it to always spin out of it. Diane Sawyer asked me in one interview, she said, so a lot of people think that you're doing this interview because you're going to come out as gay. And I just said, well, that wouldn't make any sense. And it frustrated her. It frustrated her. She was like, wait, what do you mean? I said, it just wouldn't make any sense. And she said, well, what are you saying? I'm saying it wouldn't make any sense. Like, that's all I would say. And she got really angry. I mean, she didn't get angry, but she stopped the cameras and said, that's not an answer. I said,
so what you're getting?
what you got?
Yeah. Did you have that in your pocket ready to go?
No, I was pretty good. I mean, I got very used to it. The first question I got, so we finished the finale, we go out on stage, like Ruben goes out and does a little press junket on stage with like 300 reporters. And then after he's been out there by himself for a while, they call me out to join him, and they let me call on a reporter. And I don't know what the devil was doing that day, but I looked over and pointed at somebody, and it was Out Magazine.
No!
I didn't know it was Out Magazine. And the first question, I'm not shitting you, the first question I got when I came off stage on Idol was, Clay, are you gay? And I just went, and you?
Yeah.
And just moved on.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to do. Of course, inside I'm dying because I know anyway. But so I got so used to it. I got so ready for it. And you could always kind of tell, like if it was a very small market radio station or TV station or newspaper, they wouldn't dare. And if it was a very big market TV station or radio station, they also wouldn't mess around. And I think it's because the small markets, they're just so happy to have you. And the big markets, they got, Elvis Duran, he ain't got nothing to prove. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right. Right. That's so interesting.
It was always the mid-sized markets that, without fail. So whenever I was doing Pittsburgh or Charlotte or something like that, I just was prepared that somebody was going to try to get me to come out or try to ask me if I was gay. And every time. So again, I wasn't lying about it. I just was pretty good at either spinning or making a joke. Were you trying to ask me out? That kind of thing.
Right. Yeah,
It's wishful thinking on your part, that kind of thing. So I was pretty good at spinning and making a joke out of it. And did everything I could to never lie, but also never tell the truth either.
Tell the truth.
It was very Hillary Clinton-esque at the time.
I really tried not to lie or tell the truth. Oh, that's genius. Before we hit record on this conversation, we had about an hour.
Oh, I thought you were saying before you hit record now, like we were about to.
Oh, shit, I didn't. But before I hit record the first time, I was shocked to hear you say that you hadn't really known you were gay until around the Idol years. And I guess I just wonder how that can be. Not because, you seem so gay. Not at all. Not at all. But because, like, you lived with you every day of all those 23 years. So how did you?
Well, I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what it meant, right? I mean, I didn't grow up with Will and Grace on TV. I didn't know what being gay meant. I had Three's Company, and I knew that, like, he was pretending to be gay to be able to. I didn't know what that meant, though. I mean, I even knew that that the dance teacher in my high school was gay, but I didn't know what that meant, except for, like, sissy, like that means you act kind of girlish. And when I was in high school, I dated girls. I did things with girls. I never
wanted to, or because you were forced to.
Well, neither. I just thought I was supposed to, right? And there were other guys that were talking about sex and all this stuff. And I just, honestly, I thought I hadn't finished puberty yet. I was a late bloomer. I didn't grow until I was a senior in high school. And I went from like 5'8" to 6'1" in one summer. So I just assumed that I didn't hit puberty yet, and my voice never changed, right? I've always been a alto. And so I figured, well, this desire to have sex must be like the last stage of puberty, and I'm just waiting for it to happen. And I also thought, well, maybe you got to try it. Nope. Well, maybe it's an acquired taste. Nope. Maybe I hadn't finished puberty. So I just didn't have a frame of reference for knowing what it meant. And it wasn't. And then by the time I got to college, I had sort of figured it out. I realized what gay was. I found it. I also was not attracted to, there were not many guys I was attracted to either in high school, so it wasn't like I was turned on by him and not turned on by her. I was sort of asexual, right? By the time I got to college, I found myself being attracted to guys and thinking, okay, well, now I get it. But I guess I'm bisexual, and I'm going to just keep this, jerk off, I guess, a lot. I don't know.
Yes, right. And like, was it the hotness factor? Like your high school guys weren't hot, but then you hit college and it was like, these guys are fine.
I don't know. I'm looking back. I think I probably did find myself attracted to a few guys in high school, but I thought I wanted to be like them. I saw them and I just thought I felt like maybe I was admiring them, or I was jealous of, it wasn't sexual by any stretch. And so it wasn't until I got to Idol and I found, I know I've seen myself on the first episode too, y'all. I get it. But I got there and I realized, I knew I was not, nobody's lumberjack, right? But I was also not as affected as some other people who I knew. And so I figured I was in the middle. And it wasn't until I got to Idol and I met the guy who's the head of the hair department at Idol. He was the soldier of the year for the whole U.S. Army. The whole army, the whole country.
Some resume, eh?
Soldier of the year, right? He was gay. And there were people on production who were gay. And I was like, shit, well, if he's gay and this butch motherfucker's gay, then
right. I'll take that.
Maybe I am too. And I met somebody and felt my first little for the first time with somebody who worked on the show. And it just happened. It happened like that. Actually, I don't know if we were dating yet, or he knew what I was trying to do, but I had not made it clear. And I was at his apartment, and God, I'm going to make this longer. When I was in college, there was a girl who lived next door to me, who moved off to LA after college. She left and went to LA. We never heard from her again. And I'm sitting in his apartment, and who walks in the door? His roommate. He's roommates with this girl.
What?
And that was a sign to God from God to me. Yep, this is the one. I took her to, oh my God, you want to hear something so embarrassing? I can't believe I mean, it's not like I'm like everybody didn't know. So I guess I did. Oh God, I'm so embarrassed. I guess I never told people I was straight, but I did play it up. I went to the AMAs in 03, and she went as my date. And she was my friend from college, and she was my boyfriend's roommate, and she went as my date. And they called my name, I won, and I leaned over and I kissed her on the cheek, I think. I kissed her on the cheek, but I made a point of doing that. Ugh. And now if I go back and see it on YouTube, I want to, not because I kissed a girl, but just because why in the did I do that?
Yeah.
I don't know. It was a different time, wasn't it? And I was getting an award from Alabama. Those Knicks from Alabama. So I needed to butch it up a little bit.
I mean, did this give you a skewed sense of when to be honest and when not? Like when honesty isn't the best policy?
Well, a skewed sense, I would say no. I would say, if anything, having to reserve so much, one, and then at 2008, the wall had to come down. By the time the wall came down, I ran for Congress. And I ran for Congress and used my talents in spin again, right? And then I went back and saw some videos of me answering questions and thinking, ugh, that I don't, honesty 100% of the time, to my own, I mean, like I just brought up something that's embarrassing to me. I'll get embarrassed, but I don't hide it anymore. I try harder now than I think anybody in the world to just screw it. You got it. Here's what you got. You're going to get it. You're going to like it, or you're not going to like it. Because I mean, truly, yes, I went from 40 million people knowing who I am, and lots of people still knowing who I am, but you never get everybody to love you. And you go from having this many people love you to, something and frankly, maybe a lot of it had to do with the fact that I wasn't forthright. Some people, yes, I think I did lose probably more people because the posters came down. But I'm sure there were some people who were upset that they thought that I was hiding it. Hell, I got sued by someone who said that I was. They sued me and RCA because they said that it was like false advertising. We got thrown out of court, but yeah, it got thrown out by the first. The judge threw it out, but it was a lawsuit saying that we had fabricated this entire thing to try to fool consumers into buying the albums and blah, blah, blah. I mean, a lot of those folks have returned. They were bitter for a while, and then they just kind of got used to it because I sing so pretty.
Undeniable.
And then I think a lot of the young girls who took those posters down, they're older now. They've got their own kids. They're not trying to, I'm their gay best friend now.
Yes, and now they have husbands, so it's actually better.
Right, and the husbands have no problem with them seeing me because there's no threat whatsoever.
That's what I'm saying. You are not a threat. I mean, well, you may have
not that Nick Carter is really a threat to many of these husbands either. He's probably not going to ever even know their names. But it's that irrational fantasy that they don't have. You don't have to live an irrational fantasy. I am your gay best friend.
Yeah. I feel like you're my gay best friend right now. So yes, that must be how everybody feels. So did you feel betrayed at the time though by the fans or by music?
No, I did not. Now I look back at it and I'll tell you who, again, hindsight. In the moment, I don't really recall it, but I do know in hindsight that what probably was worse than than fans taking their posters down or being less is the fact that the media not interested anymore. Like they got what they wanted. There were a lot of folks in especially in I was in Us Weekly and In Touch and all those tabloids every week. But once they got the juicy nugget that they were waiting for, it wasn't over, but it definitely slowed down. I mean, I can still get press to some degree, but it's not like it was then. Because I feel like everybody thought, I don't know, maybe they thought that I was going to accidentally come out when I interviewed with them, like I was going to trip over something.
Come out all over them. Yeah.
Accidentally for yes. But it was fascinating that once that story, maybe that's why we didn't tour on the next album, because once that story happened, it was like, okay, we got that. And listen, I'm not doing some sob story about, oh, the media likes to build them up and tear them down. But I look back and I think, there was an element of that involved, because clearly I think that the reason that I couldn't burp without Entertainment Tonight covering it between 2003 and 2008 was because there was a fascination with this, what I realize now, this gay kid that everybody in America was like, when's he gonna fuck up and say he's gay? And they all wanted it. And once I had done it, and once People Magazine got it and Diane Sawyer got it, those are the two people who got the exclusives.
Yeah.
Everybody else was like, well, screw you then.
Like you betrayed them.
Like I didn't give them the scoop. Well, you already knew. You were telling stories anyway, damn it.
Yeah. So is it the kind of thing where you're like get addicted to people, the energy of people wanting to take your picture and wanting to know the story and wanting to be all about you, and then you're cast out? Is that a term?
Oh, I never liked having my picture taken anyway. No, I think it probably, and again, you're asking me to look back and try to remember 17 years ago, but I think that I probably didn't notice the sharp drop off at the time. I was in a show. I'm not gonna say it again. I was in a show and I was continuing. And then once I left that show, I had other things to do. I mean, I was busy. So I probably didn't notice the drop off as quickly, but in hindsight, once I left entertainment in general, like just in 2014, I stopped.
Why?
And well, my kid was at an age where I didn't want to be on the road all the time. It was a little bit easier when they're younger, and they're crying and shitting their pants.
And they're portable.
Right. Well, when you got to an age where you can have a conversation and like you want to, and he was in school also, like when it was around the time that he started elementary school, where he had to be in one place at all the time. So, it was just, I wanted to be able to, and me constantly traveling was not going to be conducive to that, him having to be in one place too. So being able to stay in one place was something I wanted to do. I didn't know how I was going to do it. But I figured I wanted to. And then, I'd always been interested in politics. And so I thought, okay, a whole bunch of circumstances led me to deciding to run in 2014. And I had to make the decision, listen, if you decide to do this, if you decide to coming out as a homo was nothing compared to coming out as a Democrat. If you decide to run for office and you put that D behind your name, you really are going to lose half the people. But I do want to help bring back, at least to my corner of North Carolina, the idea that someone can go to Washington to represent all the people, whether they voted for you or not. And seriously, I remember going through the Sky Club in Atlanta Airport, and I walked in, and the lady at the desk was like, "Oh my God, Clay Aikin, I used to love you." And I went, "Used to love me? What do you mean?"
Right.
She said, "Well, I did, but I can't, but you're a Democrat and I just can't be okay with that." And we had a nice conversation, and she,
You're like, men, you're okay with that?
she didn't care apparently. But, and so I had to make that decision. If you decide to do this, you have to be prepared that you're not going to get to you can't go back to entertainment. And
wait, I'm sorry. Call on me.
Yeah.
Clay, I don't understand why you felt that would end your entertainment career.
What do you mean? Have you seen America?
Yes. Well, there's still 50% of us who enjoy a good Democrat here and there.
I just think that people, you don't want to. I don't know. Maybe it was irrational. Also, a lot of my fan base was Middle American. I do very well in the Midwest. But I ended up being wrong. So, that helps you, maybe.
Yeah.
I ended up being wrong. I did it. I did leave. I focused. Also, it was very important to me that if I was going to run, I was not going to run with the celebrity baggage stuff. I didn't sing. I didn't talk about entertainment. I ran straight down the political, policy oriented campaign. And so I wasn't going to use that. And so, and I, listen, I wanted to be taken seriously. We used to say in my first campaign, we said we had to overcome what the fuck mountain, which was this mountain in front of us that how people responded when they heard Clay Aikin was running for Congress. What the f,
Right.
And so I did not want to take for granted the fact that this is a serious job and I'm not going to be running for it like I, was the host of a reality show or something. And so I was talked only policy and I needed to distance myself. And when I finished that campaign, I knew going into it that I wasn't going to win. It was a very red district. It was very gerrymandered. I ran because I wanted to bring attention to that. But I decided at the end, I was like, you know what? I might do this again someday. So I don't know that. Now this is 2014. So
different world.
The sky hadn't fallen yet. But I knew that if I thought I might want to do it again, I can't just jump right back on stage because then I'll have another what fuck mountain again when I decide to do it again. So I stayed out. I did a lot of policy stuff. I did a lot of, local stuff. And then in 2018, Ruben thought, let's do something together. And so he and I went and did a show on Broadway together just for Christmas.
Spam-a-lot?
No. Smart ass. No. We did our own little Christmas show together on Broadway in 2018. And I did that for a minute. And then I said, okay, that was enough. Now I'm going to step back out because I think I'm going to run again. 2022 happened and I ran again and just decided they're all horrible.
Yeah.
So I was like, nope, never going to do it again. And I feel like I'm sort of an all or nothing person. If I'm going to run, when I ran, the 2 times I ran for office, I focused very much on that. After 22, I decided, you know what? I'm never doing that again. Music makes people happier than politics ever will. So I'm going to go back to performing and I focused only on that. And for that reason, I really don't talk politics anymore. I don't even watch them.
Well, so you went into politics to make people happy?
Well, I thought that I was naive enough to grow up in a time when politicians or public servants did things to improve people's lives. Not to make people happy, but I thought, and still do think that if they ever wanted to try, but I don't think they do, that they could improve people's lives. But yeah, that's not what they're trying to do right now.
Is it your, Clay Aikin's, responsibility to make people happy?
Responsibility might be a heavy word.
You chose to go into politics.
Obligation.
Yes. Why?
Not an obligation, no. But, and I'm now I'm going to sound cheesy, but I think I'm telling the truth. I mean, I am always very aware of the fact that I am here where I am because people picked up their phones and voted for me. Unlike everybody else we've talked about. I mean, yes, obviously they're where they are because people bought their albums or went to their shows. But those of us who came off of Idol, we are here because people at home said, I want to see more of you. And I went from having no platform whatsoever to having one. And there are issues that are important to me. So I wanted to use that platform for things that were important to me. I was a UNICEF ambassador. I've got a foundation for kids with disabilities. But in as much as I'm using it for those things, if I can use it to do things for people who live around me, to improve the situation of people I'm not running for office again, make me sound like I am, but I'm never doing it.
I'm not doing shit.
I'm hearing myself talking. I'm hearing myself talking like, I feel like I'm running.
I mean, do you want to?
No. I mean, no, I don't want to be in, I really don't want to be in, I'm not saying I'm not interested. I like the job I have now. No, I just don't like that. Some of it got really nasty, not from me and fortunately not towards me, but I watched some of the other ones just get really nasty with each other. I'm like, you guys agree with each other. You would have voted for her if you weren't running. So why the fuck are you being so nasty? And it became obvious it's because they just want to win. Yeah. They just want to win. And Yeah, I have and clearly, as I've demonstrated with my track record, winning is not everything.
But second place feels really good.
Yes. Second to none.
Second to none. That's exactly it. It's not that I don't think that the world couldn't use your talents as a politician right now, because I think there's so many things.
Listen, I think there are too, but it's just people don't want to hear it. I mean, the world could use another Nelson Mandela, but I'm not sure that if Nelson Mandela were alive today, that people would listen to him. And I think we got to get to a place where we're ready to listen to each other. And when hopefully that happens before I'm dead, but we're not in that moment right now. We're not interested in listening to anybody else. And so, or at least in that way, but by all means, listen to me sing.
Yes. Now, it's okay. So politics, it's in the toilet. I don't want to do it anymore. Did you know instantly you're going to go back to singing, or did you have an identity crisis? Like, now what?
No, I had a little bit of yes, very much of what, now what? And I got lucky. Ruben, my brother from another mother, was 23 was the 20th anniversary of our season of Idol. Oh. And so he called me. I've just finished that. He came out and he helped me with my races. He came and did fundraisers and rallies in both campaigns. And after that was over, he said, okay, now it's your turn to get back on stage. He had wanted me to get back on stage. And so he said he was going to go out and do a 20th anniversary tour on his own. And he said, why don't you come do it with me? Why don't we do it together? And I was like, okay, sure. And I went out and hopped back on stage, and we were out for a year and had a great time. And it was in that moment. And again, it sounded like I'm trying to run for Miss America now, but I saw people and I thought, wait a second, like maybe it's only improving their lives for 90 minutes, but it's 90 minutes more than anybody in DC is doing it for, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, so I was like, God, this feels good. People were, the audiences were enthusiastic, and maybe because we have ridiculously short attention spans, people had forgotten that I had been a Democrat, or that they had taken their poster off the wall. They like that nostalgia and reminisce on it. So it was successful, and I thought, you know what? Okay, now let me go out and do it on my own. So I really was not in a position where I had an actual music manager anymore. My manager that I had for years had retired while I was on my hiatus. And so I had to go find a new manager and kind of start over. But it's very nice to be able, interestingly now, very much do things more on my terms. I don't have when I came off Idol, my whole album was chosen for me. They handed me the songs within a week after the show was over.
So you were masking as a straight person and masking as a musician with songs that weren't actually of you. That's a weird time.
Even Invisible, which was my, the big hit, was a cover from a band in England. A boy band in England had sung it first. And it just, by the way, Dave Auday, the DJ, did remixes of Invisible this summer. And we just went to number 4 in the UK. I'm like, what? I haven't had a top 10 hit in 20 years. We're back, baby.
Unstoppable. Yes, we're back. I love it.
I took my Ozempic now, so I'm skinny again.
Listen, I think this Ozempic stuff is a miracle, right? People are a miracle. Yeah.
It is a crime that the insurance companies don't cover it, because my blood pressure went down, my cholesterol went down. I lost 60 pounds.
Hey, there you go. I wouldn't have thought you had it to lose.
Oh God, don't Google me anytime. There was some meat on these bones. COVID especially. I look at the pictures now and I think, I'm so pissed at my friends. How did you let me get that fat?
I agree. Not about your friends.
Have an allergic reaction.
What is with the friends? It's not okay. When I first started this show exactly a year ago, we just turned 1 on Monday. I was 40 pounds heavier, Clay Aikin. And do you think one person in my world said, you are starting to resemble Jabba the Hutt? And not one person said it. And I don't know why.
Because it was a gradual thing, probably. Like mine started during that first campaign. I was constantly out eating Bojangles every day because that was the only thing in these small towns I was in. And then it just slowly over the years, I was at 200 and about 200, between 220, 215 and 220. And I was 155 on Idol. So I'm not at 155 now. I did drop to that for a little bit. I'm at 160 and I'm perfectly happy. And this is where I think I belong. That's where I think God wants me to be. And so I'm going to stay here. But yeah, it's a shame that they don't cover it because the number of people's health, I mean, it would improve health outcomes in the country dramatically. Insurance companies would not have to spend money on cholesterol drugs and heart disease medicines.
Well, this is true. And also, some of them have the added benefit, I hear, of helping with addictive cravings. And as an addict myself, I would love to take anything that made me not want to still, after 12 years, have that glass of wine at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Or perhaps when I start eating a brownie, it would be nice if I didn't have to eat the whole pan. But
that's exactly what it does. That's what it does. I didn't take Ozempic. I say it because that's the one everybody remembers from the song. But I took Mounjaro, which is the one which is the one that reduces cravings. And I got lucky. I didn't have. I mean, I might not for a week, but I didn't have any other side effects. I got really lucky with it.
I thought you over when you're on it. You under.
Well, you get constipated.
Yeah, under.
Yeah. And yeah, I did get sick one time, but I knew when I was eating that night, I was like, I probably shouldn't finish this, but I did anyway. And then right in the middle of the show, had to run off stage. But came right back and I never had an issue again. It was just miracle drug. God bless them.
That really shows what a pro you are. When you can nearly your pants and not end
I didn't nearly my pants. I threw up.
Oh, threw up. I'm sorry.
If I had nearly my pants, I wouldn't have left stage. That's what a pro I am.
That's what a pro you are. Actually, so is that your most pro moment in your career? Is that the one where you can say like, yes, never say die?
Well, probably at this moment. Oh, well, I've got to say it again. Can I say it again?
Bring it.
When I was in Spamalot, one of my veneers fell out.
And drinking.
And I kept doing the show without a tooth.
Oh my God.
So that was, yeah.
That's pro.
I'm sure there are other ones. I'm sure there's some other ones, but we'll go with that because it's the most recent one, and everything else I'm too old to remember any further back than 2 or 3 years.
Listen, man, that is one of the best things about age is like, I don't remember a lot of the stuff that used to bring me down. I just don't remember. And therefore, it doesn't exist.
Exactly. It's the greatest. Age is the greatest antidepressant because not only do you forget it, but as you were saying earlier, perspective, you look back on it and realize, wait a second, why was I so upset about that? Or why did I overreact to that?
Oh, I've spent a lifetime overreacting. So if the veneer out in Spamalot was your I'm the biggest pro moment, do you have like, oof, that was definitely the worst moment?
I don't know. I'm pretty good all the time.
Yeah.
Well, I do. So I did. I'm not embarrassed by it, but I guess it was bad. I have one of my Christmas shows back in 04 or 05 or 6 or something like that. I have this big song on it was in 06. It ends with this huge note. And I used to do it as the finale, and I was in Chicago, and I don't even know if it exists anymore because my fans are amazing, and they literally would not share it because it was so awful. But it did get, it must exist because a few radio stations used it as stingers.
Like Sinead on SNL when she did the Pope, like then you can't find it anywhere.
Oh, not that
like
bad.
That?
No.
Okay.
No. I went for this big note and my voice cracked. And then I went and I stopped and I went back in for it. And it was awful. And yeah, that was pretty awful. Especially because you screw it up one time and then you're like, no, I'm going to get it this time. And then you screw it up again and it just sounded like a dying cat. And no, I'm sure it is out there because there were a few radio stations around the country that would use that's the stinger.
Did you play it off or just like, did you make a joke of it?
Well, it was the last note of the show, period. Like it was the encore. It was the last note of the show. I went for it And then I went for it again. And I would say that I think my best pro, maybe this is not right, but I feel like my best pro moment is the fact that I just don't care. I mean, it's not that I don't care, because I do care. But if I screw up, I'm like, well, now you know I ain't lip syncing. I'll stop and be like, well, I don't know those words.
Yeah.
Because
Is that a gift of age?
Probably either age or experience, just knowing, being comfortable enough with yourself that. And listen, I say to people all the time, Simon Cowell said that told me I was ugly in front of 40 million people. I got insulted, said it was the worst thing in the world. I mean, all that stuff. If you can live through that, you can really live through anything. And so if I screw up, I hope I'm not cocky, but I don't have a lack of self-confidence about my ability to do what I do. So if I screw up something, I'll be like, well, it'll be better in the next song.
Yeah. I love it.
Yanking your money back.
What's the difference between confidence and cockiness?
I know it when I see it. I don't know what it is. I don't know the answer to that. I guess maybe cockiness is believing it, believing the bullshit, your own bullshit. I feel like I'm confident enough that I don't have any problem making myself look bad or stupid or embarrassing myself if that's what the situation calls for. I don't think cockiness does that. I feel like cockiness usually comes from a place of a lack of self-confidence, right? You're trying to put on airs. You're trying to convince people and maybe yourself that you're better than you are.
Right.
So,
right. Cockiness is outward. Confidence is inward.
Yeah, probably. I mean, listen, I'm sure there are people who think I'm cocky too, but what the do they?
Damn, yeah. Who cares what they think? They're not here right now, just you and me.
They don't know.
They don't know. All right. So listen, as we march toward the wrap up here, so the tagline for our show is freedom from f***ery, because I think we all deal with a certain amount of f***ery in our lives, whether it's f***ery from the outside, f***ery from the inside. There's just plenty to go around. So what would you say is your biggest f***ery which you have faced and defeated?
You should have given me this one yesterday so I could think on it.
And it's the name of the goddamn show, Clay Aikin. You could have just looked it up.
Oh, wait,
The show is called Soberness. Right, you're sober from the f***ery.
Oh yeah, those things connect so
right. Well, I know.
I know.
What happened was last year when I started the show, it was about sobriety, but it was bringing me down, man. And I wanted to talk to more people about more stuff. So expand.
Biggest listen, I don't know if I want to. I sound like I don't want to sound like I'm complaining. I am not a victim, but I mean, listen, I did go through, as I said to you earlier, that mid 2000s was not the best time in the world to be a publicly known person and gay, and I guess I don't like to use the word survive, because I feel like I thrived through it. I feel like I became stronger because Kathy Griffin made fun of me, because and I became friends with those folks who talk crap about me. I would say the biggest f***ery that any of us go through is the stuff that we put ourselves through, right? I mean, the insecurities that we allow ourselves to have, the not paranoia, but the irrational thoughts that we let ourselves think when we're worried about how other people are going to see us. And I've been lucky enough to be in the public eye long enough to have been through all the phases and finally come out on the end and learned that you're never going to make everybody happy. Be yourself. If people don't like it, they can go screw. And if they do, then lucky them.
Yes. So, right. You've been through the phases of f***ery. You freed yourself from f***ery. And my other favorite F with f***ery is forgiveness for f***ery. Have you had to forgive yourself or anybody for said f***ery?
Yeah, I think I probably did. I mentioned earlier, I look back at some of the things some of the ways I answered questions, and I am sometimes, I don't know if embarrassed is the right word. It's kind of hard to embarrass me, but I don't, I'm not proud of the ways that I handled some of those things. And so yeah, I have to, would have to forgive myself for making those mistakes, because I don't think I'm the first one to do them. I'm not alone in the fact that I tried to, protect myself from some phantom menace, or, I think everybody does that. So I look back and I beat myself up over some of those things a few times, just really upset about how I answered this question or how I responded to that. And you've got to forgive yourself, because I mean, as close as to perfect as I might be, nobody's perfect, right? And I'm going to make mistakes till the day I die. And then I'll probably make a few more.
Yeah. There's still time. Listen, thank you. I hope you'll look me up when you come to New York. I would love to see you in person.
You're way out there, but yes, you come a little closer in and I will.
Listen, you say that now, but Coney Island is dope. I'm on my own.
No, I'm not
here.
saying it's not nice. I'm just saying it's a long way away.
From what? If you land at JFK, it is 20 minutes.
Oh, right.
A long way away is relative to the thing from which you are away. No?
Very, very well said.
Deep thoughts. Namaste. Thank you.
My God.
Hey, real quick, if our episodes, The Sober Life or Freedom from Fuckery, connects with you, share it with anyone that you think would also benefit. As a self-funded podcast, it would mean the world for you to rate and subscribe or follow our podcast whenever you can. This helps our team find new amazing guests and continue improving our episodes for you. Thank you so much.